If you haven't noticed this yet, you will. It's subtle, but it's happening. Items we've relied on for years are starting to vanish, not because people don't want them, but because the system behind them is cracking. And here's the part that really stopped me in my tracks. Two of the most iconic warehouse staples, the rotisserie chicken and those giant jugs of laundry detergent, are already being whispered about as at risk. I don't say this to be dramatic. I say it because if you depend on warehouse clubs the way I do, you need to know what's coming. And today, I'm going to walk you through 17 items that could disappear in 2026. I don't say this to be dramatic. I say it because if you depend on warehouse clubs the way I do, you need to know what's coming. And today, I'm going to walk you through 17 items that could disappear in 2026. You know, I want to share something that happened to me recently because I think it perfectly captures what's going on inside warehouse clubs right now. I was at Costco on a Saturday morning, the kind of day when the parking lot feels like a stadium event. I grabbed my cart, did my usual lap, and headed straight for the staples. Rice, oil, canned goods. The things I always keep stocked because they're the backbone of my preparedness plan. But when I turned down the aisle where the big 25-pound bags of rice usually sit, I froze. The shelf was half empty. Not just a few missing bags, I mean entire sections cleared out, with employees sliding smaller boxes into the gaps to make it look full. I asked one of the workers, "Hey, are you guys just waiting on a shipment?" He gave me this look, not rude, but tired, and said, "Shipments are slower, and management's cutting back on certain SKUs. We don't know if these big bags are coming back the same way." That hit me, because rice isn't just rice. It's security. It's meals for weeks. It's the kind of item you buy in bulk because you don't want to think about running out. And then, just a few aisles over, I saw something else. The olive oil section. Normally, you'd see rows of gallon jugs lined up like soldiers. But now, just a handful of smaller bottles and a sign pointing to a new blend option. I picked one up, and it wasn't even pure olive oil. It was a mix. Cheaper, sure, but not the same. That's when it clicked for me. These changes aren't random. They're signals. Signals that the warehouse model is shifting, that the items we've relied on for years are being reevaluated. Now, I know some people shrug this off. They think, well, I'll just buy whatever's there. But if you're watching this channel, you're not that person. You're proactive. You're the kind of person who notices the empty shelf before it becomes permanent. You're the kind of person who asks questions, who thinks ahead, who prepares. And that's why I want to walk you through this story in detail. Because it's not just about rice or olive oil. It's about the bigger picture. Let me tell you what happened next. I kept walking, and I noticed families debating in front of the paper towel section. One mom was holding a giant pack, and her husband was saying, "Do we really need this many?" She looked at him and said, "If they stop carrying these, we'll regret not buying them now." That conversation stuck with me, because she wasn't panicking. She was thinking ahead. She was being smart. Later, I bumped into another shopper I see often. We've chatted before in the frozen aisle. He leaned over his cart and said, "Have you heard they might pull the rotisserie chicken? My kids live on that thing." He laughed, but there was worry in his voice. And here's the thing. When everyday shoppers start whispering about items disappearing, it's not just rumor. It's awareness. It's people noticing patterns. I left the store that day with a cart that looked different than usual. More canned goods, fewer fresh items. I stocked up on detergent pods instead of the big jug, and as I loaded my trunk, I thought, this is what preparedness looks like. Not panic buying, not hoarding, but adapting. Seeing the signs and making smart choices before the crowd catches on. If you haven't noticed this yet, you will. The shelves are telling a story, and if you're paying attention, you'll see it before everyone else. That's why I'm sharing this personal moment with you, because I know you're the kind of viewer who doesn't wait until it's too late. You're the kind of person who wants to be ahead of the curve, who wants to protect your family, who wants to stretch your dollar without sacrificing security. And here's the truth. The items I saw thinning out that day, rice, olive oil, paper towels, even whispers about rotisserie chicken. They're just the beginning. There are 17 categories in total that are at risk in 2026. But before I break them down, I want you to sit with this story. Picture yourself walking into your warehouse club. Picture the shelves you rely on. And then imagine what happens when those shelves don't look the same. That's not a reason to panic. It's a reason to prepare, to be smart, to be proactive. Because preparedness isn't about fear. It's about awareness. And if you're watching this, you're already ahead of the game. After that store visit, the empty rice shelf, the olive oil swap, the conversations with shoppers, I couldn't shake the feeling that something bigger was happening. It wasn't just a one-off shortage. It felt like a pattern. So I started digging. I asked myself, why are these items disappearing? Why are employees hinting at changes? Why are families suddenly debating whether to buy now or wait? I went home, sat down at my desk, and began researching. I pulled up reports on supply chains, import data, climate impacts, even regulatory filings. I looked at what analysts were saying about food staples, household goods, and the economics of warehouse clubs. And the deeper I went, the clearer the picture became. Warehouse clubs aren't just reacting to random shortages. They're restructuring. They're reevaluating what belongs on those shelves. And the items most at risk, they're the ones that don't fit the new model, whether because of cost, regulation, or shifting consumer demand. Here's the pattern I noticed. High-volume staples like rice, cooking oil, and paper towels are under pressure because global supply chains are unstable. Loss leader items like rotisserie chickens are being reconsidered because margins are shrinking. Imported goods like coffee and olive oil are vulnerable to climate disruptions and tariffs. Bulky items like outdoor furniture or electronics bundles are being cut because warehouse space is too valuable. And what I found surprised me, because it wasn't just the obvious items, the ones we all expect to fluctuate. It was the cultural staples. The things that define the warehouse club experience. The chicken you grab on the way out. The detergent jug that lasts months. The soda packs stacked high in the beverage aisle. These aren't just products. They're symbols. And when they disappear, it changes the way we shop, the way we prepare, the way we feel secure. Now, I know some people might say, well, that's just business. Companies change inventory all the time. And sure, that's true. But when you look at the scale of these changes and the timing heading into 2026, it's clear this isn't just business as usual. It's a shift in how warehouse clubs operate, and a shift in what we can rely on as consumers. And here's why this matters for you. If you're proactive, if you're paying attention, you can adapt before the shelves change. You can stock up, pivot to alternatives, or rethink your preparedness strategy. But if you wait until the items are gone, you're stuck. That's why I started researching this, because I don't want to be caught off guard, and I don't want you to be caught off guard either. Think about it. How many times have you walked into a warehouse club and assumed the staples would always be there? Rice, oil, chicken, paper towels. We take them for granted. But the truth is, they're only there as long as the economics make sense. And right now, the economics are shifting. I'll give you an example. Coffee. I read reports showing that climate change is hammering coffee production in Brazil and Colombia. Warehouse clubs are already cutting back on premium imports, replacing them with blends. That means the big bags of single origin beans you love, they may not survive 2026. Or take laundry detergent. Environmental regulations are pushing companies to reduce plastic packaging. Warehouse clubs are responding by shrinking the giant jugs and pushing pods instead. That's not just a packaging change. It's a fundamental shift in how we buy and store household essentials. And then there's the rotisserie chicken, the iconic $4.99 bird. Analysts have been saying for years that it's unsustainable. Rising feed costs, labor shortages, and inflation are making it harder to keep that price point. If clubs decide to pull it, it's not just food. It's a signal that even the most beloved items aren't safe. These patterns kept showing up in my research, and the more I connected the dots, the more I realized 2026 is going to be a turning point. Now, I don't say this to scare you. I say it because awareness is power. If you know what's at risk, you can prepare. You can make smart choices. You can stay ahead. And that's why I'm making this video, because I want you to see the patterns I saw. I want you to understand why these 17 items are vulnerable. And I want you to feel empowered, not blindsided. So let's dive into the list. Let's talk about the 17 warehouse club items at risk of being pulled in 2026 and what that means for you, your family, and your preparedness strategy. All right, let's get into the heart of this. I've got 17 items to share with you, But I don't want to just rattle off a list. I want to walk you through how I noticed each one, why it matters, and what I personally recommend you do about it. 1. Bulk rice bags. How I noticed it. Shelves looked half empty, employees filling gaps with smaller boxes. Why it matters. Rice is a cornerstone of food security. Cheap, filling, long shelf life. What could happen? Clubs may shrink pack sizes or cut imports altogether. My recommendation, if rice is part of your preparedness plan, buy extra now and store properly. Emotional angle. For families, rice means stability. It's the meal you can always count on. 2. Olive oil gallons. How I noticed it. Gallon jugs replaced with smaller blends. Why it matters. Olive oil isn't just cooking. It's health, tradition, flavor. What could happen? Climate disruptions could make pure olive oil rare in bulk. My recommendation, stock up on sealed bottles now or learn to cook with alternatives. Emotional angle. Losing olive oil feels like losing a piece of culture. 3. Canned tuna packs. How I noticed it. Fewer options, more plant-based alternatives creeping in. Why it matters. Tuna is protein security. Cheap, shelf-stable, versatile. What could happen? Sustainability rules could push clubs to cut back. My recommendation, diversify your protein storage. Beans, lentils, canned chicken. Emotional angle. For many families, tuna sandwiches are childhood memories. Most people aren't paying attention to this. They just see fewer cans and move on. But the one coming up next is different. 4. Rotisserie chicken. How I noticed it. Conversations with shoppers, whispers about it being unsustainable. Why it matters. It's not just food, it's tradition, convenience, comfort. What could happen? Clubs may raise the price or pull it entirely. My recommendation, don't rely on it as a weekly staple. Learn to roast your own. Emotional angle. Losing the chicken would feel like losing a ritual. 5. Bulk ground beef. How I noticed it. Rising prices, smaller packs creeping in. Why it matters. Beef is central to family meals. Burgers, tacos, casseroles. What could happen? Clubs may limit grades or shrink sizes. My recommendation, freeze extra when prices dip and explore cheaper proteins. Emotional angle. For many, beef is comfort food. Losing it changes family dinners. 6. Frozen fish fillets. How I noticed it. Less variety, more blends. Why it matters. Fish is a healthy protein, often cheaper in bulk. What could happen? Import restrictions could cut cod and salmon availability. My recommendation, buy frozen now or learn to cook with local fish. Emotional angle. Fish dinners are often tied to family traditions. But the one coming up next is different. This isn't just about food, it's about household security. 7. Bulk paper towels. How I noticed it. Packs shrinking, private label dominating. Why it matters. Paper towels are everyday preparedness. Cleaning, hygiene. What could happen? Pulp shortages could shrink supply further. My recommendation, stock up, but also learn reusable alternatives. Emotional angle. Running out during a shortage feels like losing control. 8. Laundry detergent jugs. How I noticed it. Giant jugs replaced with pods. Why it matters. Detergent is household stability. Clean clothes, dignity. What could happen? Environmental rules could eliminate bulk jugs. My recommendation, adapt to pods, but store extras for emergencies. Emotional angle. Clean clothes are tied to self-respect and family care. 9. Disinfectant wipes. How I noticed it. Shelf space shrinking post-pandemic. Why it matters. Wipes are quick hygiene, critical in emergencies. What could happen? Clubs may cut back due to lower demand. My recommendation, keep a stash, but also learn DIY disinfectant methods. Emotional angle, wipes mean safety, especially for parents with kids. This is where things get interesting, because now we're moving into beverages, and that's where the changes hit home for almost everyone. 10. Bulk soda packs. How I noticed it. Fewer flavors, smaller packs. Why it matters. Soda is cultural. Parties, family gatherings. What could happen? Sugar taxes could shrink supply. My recommendation, if soda matters to you, buy in moderation now. Emotional angle. For many families, soda is celebration. 11. Imported coffee beans. How I noticed it. Premium imports replaced with blends. Why it matters. Coffee is survival fuel. Mornings, work, Comfort. What could happen? Climate change could make imports rare. My recommendation, stock sealed bags, explore local roasters. Emotional angle. Coffee is ritual. Losing it feels personal. 12. Alcohol variety packs. How I noticed it. Selection shrinking. Regulatory signs posted. Why it matters. Variety packs are convenience for gatherings. What could happen? State laws could limit bulk alcohol sales. My recommendation, buy individual bottles. Plan ahead for events. Emotional angle. Alcohol packs are tied to celebration and community. Most people don't realize this yet. But the next category, health and wellness, is where the changes could really affect your family long term. 13. Bulk vitamins. How I noticed it. Labels changing. Fewer options. Why it matters. Vitamins are family health security. What could happen? FDA rules could pull certain brands. My recommendation, buy trusted brands now. Check expiration dates. Emotional angle. Parents rely on vitamins for kids' health. 14. Protein powders. How I noticed it. Bulk tubs shrinking. Reformulations. Why it matters. Protein is critical for fitness and meal planning. What could happen? Rising costs could shrink supply. My recommendation, diversify protein sources. Beans, eggs, canned meats. Emotional angle. For many, protein powder is tied to health goals. 15. Holiday gift baskets. How I noticed it. Fewer seasonal displays, higher prices. Why it matters. Gift baskets are tradition, convenience. What could happen? Rising costs could cut seasonal SKUs. My recommendation, plan gifts early. Make DIY baskets. Emotional angle. Losing baskets changes holiday rituals. But the one coming up next is different. It's not about food or health. It's about space and lifestyle. 16. Outdoor furniture sets. How I noticed it. Fewer bulky displays, more online-only options. Why it matters. Furniture is family lifestyle. Gatherings, comfort. What could happen? Shipping costs could push clubs to cut them. My recommendation, buy early in season, consider secondhand. Emotional angle, outdoor furniture is tied to family memories. 17. Electronics. Bundles. How I noticed it. Bundles disappearing, single items replacing them. Why it matters. Bundles save money, simplify tech purchases. What could happen? Shrinking margins could eliminate bundles. My recommendation, compare prices, don't wait for bundles. Emotional angle, electronics are family connection. Losing bundles means higher costs. And that's the full breakdown. 17 items, each with its own story, each with its own impact. Most people aren't paying attention to this yet, but you are. And that's what makes you proactive, prepared, and ready for 2026. Let's pause for a second. I know I've just walked you through a lot of items, and it can feel overwhelming. But here's the reality check. We're not panicking here. We're preparing smart. Warehouse clubs are changing because the world around them is changing. Supply chains, climate, regulations, consumer habits, that's not something we can control. But what we can control is how we respond. Preparedness isn't about fear. It's about awareness. It's about noticing the patterns before everyone else does. And if you're watching this, you're already ahead of the curve. Think about it. Most shoppers walk in, grab what's on the shelf, and never ask why something's missing. But you're paying attention. You're connecting the dots. That's what makes you proactive, not reactive. So when I talk about rice disappearing or detergent jugs shrinking, I'm not saying panic and buy everything. I'm saying notice the trend, make a plan, and adapt calmly. That's the mindset that keeps families secure. That's the mindset that turns a warehouse club trip into a preparedness strategy. And hey, if this kind of breakdown helps you see the bigger picture, consider subscribing. Not because I'm chasing numbers, but because I want you to stay informed. I want you to have the tools to prepare smart, not scared. Now, let's talk about the strongest items, the ones that really matter, the ones that could hit hardest if they disappear. These aren't just products, they're lifelines. Rotisserie chicken. Revisited. Scenario. Imagine walking in after a long day, planning to grab that $4.99 chicken for dinner. It's gone. No replacement, no cheap alternative. Why critical? It's affordable protein, convenience, and tradition rolled into one. Real-world impact. Families relying on it weekly would face higher costs and less convenience. Recommendation: learn to roast whole chickens at home, freeze extras, and budget for rising prices. Emotional angle: for many, losing this chicken feels like losing a ritual of comfort. Bulk rice and staples. Scenario: a sudden import disruption means rice bags vanish for months. Prices double. Why critical? Rice is survival food. Long shelf life, versatile, filling, real-world impact. Preparedness plans collapse without affordable staples. Recommendation: stock sealed bags now, rotate them, and diversify with oats, beans, and pasta. Emotional angle: rice is the food you can always count on. Losing it shakes security. Coffee scenario: climate disruption / supply, and your morning ritual costs twice as much. Why critical? Coffee isn't just caffeine, it's routine, comfort, productivity, real-world impact. Millions of households feel the pinch daily. Recommendation: buy sealed bags now, explore local roasters, or adapt to blends. Emotional angle: losing coffee feels personal. It's tied to identity and daily rhythm. This is where things get interesting, because the next items aren't just about convenience, they're about dignity and stability. Laundry detergent scenario: big jugs vanish, pods dominate, prices rise. Why critical? Clean clothes are dignity, health, and family care. Real-world impact: households spend more for less. Preparedness: storage shrinks. Recommendation: adapt to pods, but keep extras stored. Explore homemade alternatives. Emotional angle: clean clothes means self-respect. Losing bulk detergent feels destabilizing. Paper towels scenario: packs shrink, pulp shortages spike prices. Why critical? Hygiene, cleaning, emergencies. Real-world impact: families scramble during shortages. Recommendation: stock up, but also learn reusable cloth alternatives. Emotional angle: running out during a crisis feels like losing control. Most people aren't paying attention to this, but if you've ever tried to stretch one roll of paper towels during a shortage, you know how critical this is. Protein powders and supplements. Scenario: FDA rules pull certain brands. Tubs shrink. Why critical? Health, fitness, meal planning. Real-world impact: families lose affordable nutrition options. Recommendation: diversify protein sources. Buy trusted brands now. Emotional angle: parents rely on supplements for kids' health. Losing them feels risky. Electronics bundles. Scenario: bundles vanish. Single items cost more. Why critical? Tech connects families, supports work and school. Real-world impact: higher costs, less accessibility. Recommendation: compare prices, buy early, don't wait for bundles. Emotional angle: losing bundles means losing affordability for family connection. These are the strongest items. If they disappear, it's not just inconvenience, it's culture, security, dignity, and that's why I'm urging you. Pay attention now, not later. So let's wrap this up. Preparedness isn't about fear. It's about mindset. It's about staying ahead, not scared. When I walk into a warehouse club now, I don't panic at the empty shelves. I see them as signals that tell me where to adapt, where to prepare, where to pivot. And that's the mindset I want you to carry. Calm, proactive, confident. Because when you prepare smart, you don't just protect your pantry, you protect your peace of mind. Think of it this way. Every item we talked about today, rice, chicken, detergent, coffee, they're more than products. They're symbols of security. And when those symbols shift, we don't crumble. We adjust. That's what makes us different. That's what makes us prepared. Camera, smile, warm clothes. So if this video gave you clarity, share it with someone who shops warehouse clubs. Hit subscribe if you want to keep staying ahead. And let me know in the comments, which of these items would hit you hardest if it disappeared? Because at the end of the day, preparedness isn't about fear. It's about awareness. And together, we'll stay ahead, not scared.